Whenever you are. Just go. Good afternoon, Saints fans, and welcome into the Saints postgame show presented by Verizon. I'm Caroline Gonzalez. Luckily enough, no relation to Zane Gonzalez, the kicker for the Browns. And Saints fans, you can exhale. We defeated the Cleveland Browns tonight, which makes the Saints 1-1. The Saints defeated the Browns 21-18. And honestly, the Saints, you know, the roles were reversed this weekend as the defense struggled last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and allowed 48 points. This week, the roles were reversed a little bit. The offense couldn't get it together, and the defense was holding their part. But finally, in the fourth quarter, both sides of the ball came together and produced. Tonight, Alvin Kamara had 3 times as many yards as the rest of the team. He put the team on his back, as well as Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, of course, and Will Lutz, who completed the field goal near the end of the game to secure the win for the Saints. Off to a tough start, Michael Thomas had a fumble to begin the game, but he finished the game with more than 27 receptions, which means in the first 2 games of the season, he broke an NFL record by having more than 27 receptions. The Browns punt on the first drive tonight. The Browns had to punt in the first quarter tonight, which didn't happen until the third quarter of the Saints' Week 1 game against the Bucs. So again, the defense holding up their side of the ball. It was a fun game for Saints fans, and again, it did come down to the final possession. Sean Payton has to be happy. We saw a lot of blitz from Greg Williams, who is the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns, and he was with the New Orleans Saints as defensive coordinator with the Saints in 2009 through 2011. Greg Williams went against Drew Brees in 2009 through 2011 every single day through practice, and now he got a chance to go against Drew Brees again, and he surely had plenty to throw at Drew Brees tonight, a lot of blitz, but again, Sean Payton has to be happy. Zane Gonzalez is one person who is not happy tonight. He missed 2 extra points and 2 field goals for the Browns. He essentially lost the game for the Browns there in the end by missing a 52-yard field goal. His longest field goal was 54 yards, but he missed at 52. We'll hear from Sean Payton here in a little bit and Drew Brees as they come out of the locker room after securing their first win of the 2018 season. I know Saints fans were nervous that they were going to start 0-2, but thankfully that did not happen. We've heard a lot from Saints players this week that they needed to change what they were doing. There was a lot of missed opportunity, they needed to pay more attention to detail, and the Saints surely did that throughout the week at practice and in today's game. It might not have been immediate, but we have to remember that the Browns have 31 new players on their roster this year, which is almost half of their roster. They had 8 draft picks, 8 unrestricted free agents, 5 waiver claims, and 4 trades. Now, big news that might have shocked Browns, Saints, and NFL fans everywhere was the release of Josh Gordon yesterday. Wide receiver Josh Gordon from the Browns roster. He apparently had a hamstring injury early Saturday morning, and now we'll hear from head coach Sean Payton, who is at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Look, just a couple of things. I thought in the first half, defensively we played well. Offensively, we made way too many mistakes. Way too many. Missed assignments that shouldn't happen. Missed throws. Fumbled the ball again twice at receiver. You know, everything that keeps the opponent in the game. And then the second half, we managed to move the ball a little bit better. I didn't like how we handled the last series defensively with them having a chance at a field goal. But I told our players, you know, we found a way to win, but you know, we've got a long way to go to improve and to become a better team. Any questions? Look, you get zone pressures. You're trying to predict which side it's coming from. A couple times we got hit, and then later in the game we were able to pick some up and make some plays. Listen, it's 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row with the turnover. So I like his resilience, but I like the ball too. So look, our guys have that, and yet we've got to, as coaches, get a number of those things cleaned up, or we'll find ourselves against a better team, on the losing end of a game like that. That's the truth. Shoot, it just looked like it incomplete, right? In other words, I think it was set up well. I think Drew just missed it high. We'll see on film. I'm not real happy right now, Ed. Honestly, I'm glad we won, but as a coach, you see enough things, man, that'll keep you from winning more important games. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do. We put it on the ground two more times. Shoot. I was impressed with that. That was encouraging. And I think that, look, the one thing we're able to do is when we have to, we've shown we can play from behind, and come back and get into a game. So, look, we got the win, and I'm encouraged about that. But I'm also excited to get back and look at the tape and make the corrections we need as we get into some division play coming up. Excuse me? Well, let's say they punt. We're on the 42-yard line right now. I mean, what kind of question is that? Where are we if he doesn't? It was a big play for us, but I think we're going to have him punt, and so that was a huge turnaround play. It's a big play. Yeah, look, he did a good job of seeing through the vertical, and he got a good jump on it. I thought he was going to score. He's got real strong hands, so you saw how he caught it. A lot of times guys will have to jump, to pin that ball, but that was a big play. Listen, that was a big kick he hit, and a couple big kicks their guy didn't hit, and that ended up being the difference too. It was something we had looked at during the week, and I thought their kicker hit some deeper kicks, but we got the one out past the 40. It was a good return. It's a good return. He's explosive. Listen, I got to look at the tape. I don't know that that was the runner there on the 3rd and 1. I'd have to see the play. Really, I think that was a tough play into that look. I think we've got better calls. I know I do. Into that front. It's not. I think it's a tough spot to be in as the runner in the offensive line when they play the defense that we got. So. Certainly you miss, a guy like Mark, though. Well, I think there's some things that have come up from an execution. Well, the turnovers first. That's two a game. And how many takeaways did we have? 1. All right, so we're minus 3 on the year so far after 2 weeks. So that bothers me. The mental errors bother me, and the situational football. Towards the end of the game, we're in an outside man technique, and we let a guy catch a pass, get out of bounds to set up a field goal. Those things bother me. Those are things that we've got to be better at. Thought that was important. Yeah, that was important. We didn't want it to be just one-dimensional, and I think that helped us some. He made some really good runs, and that kind of changed the momentum, if you will. I think you find that during the work week, that honestly, I mean, it's not an angel with sprinkled dust or anything like that. I think you find it during the week to improve the details. Honestly, serious, I'm being serious. You find it with the details in what you do. And generally in our game, you know, the wins happen Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The preparation and attention to detail, and you have a good, and look, we come off the weeks and we feel good about it, but there's some things that come up, you know, we're not looking for a spark to not turn the ball over, you know, so we've got to coach better technique to not you follow me? And so it is what it is. That's the one thing about our game is you can lay it out there for 3 hours and get a chance to see it all. And you know, I said to them, I'm encouraged we won, but let's not kid ourselves. You know, let's not kid ourselves. So tomorrow will be important for us. You know, we're in this early part of the season, which year after year, you know, this is where you hear your opportunity to improve happens most, you know, in these first month. But we've got a lot to do to improve. You know, some of it's by design. Some of it is based on the coverage looks. So, look, he's a big part of what we're doing, and he came up with some big plays today. But last week was easier because it became a little bit more of a game that, you know, we were attacking in a certain way. I think a lot of it will depend on each game and how it unfolds. But they were leaning the safety his way a handful of times, quite a bit of, in their man coverage. I believe we did at least once on the play action. Yeah, just once. Yeah, I can't recall. You know, I can't recall. But look, it's hard. I can't even recall like seeing the extra point after the touchdown on third down that went on top of us. That can't happen. You know, those are the things I'm talking about. You know, with that defensive call, that can happen. You know, that situation where they're basically in a pro slot on third down with a 2-receiver route, and we just got to be more disciplined than that. They did a good job. They did a good job. They always give you challenging looks, and you know, they've got some good young players. Good. I think they played well today. All right, thank you.
As you could tell, head coach Sean Payton not very pleased with the Saints today, although they did get the win. Michael Thomas, he said, had 2 turnovers, 1 turnover today and 1 turnover last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which makes 2 weeks in a row for Michael Thomas on the turnovers, which is uncharacteristic of Michael Thomas, who is known as can't guard Mike. You know, he was beating himself tonight. It wasn't so much the defense that affected Michael Thomas as much as himself. The turning point in tonight's game was Taysom Hill's punt return. He can do it all. He can play quarterback, which we saw him in at quarterback, which scared the Browns tonight. We saw him on the punt return team. We saw him on special teams. Taysom Hill's return in the fourth quarter for 47 yards really set the fire on the Saints, who again were missing Mark Ingram tonight at running back. The Saints only had 62 yards rushing. The dual threat Alvin Kamara was more of a receiving running back tonight more than he was a rushing quarterback. Again, only 62 yards for the Saints, which we saw last year. They had many more than that. Again, Sean Payton very unpleased with the mental errors from the Saints tonight. We heard them talk about it all week, that they need to be more disciplined, pay more attention to detail, but the mental errors were still there tonight. However, what the Saints did do better tonight was keep Tyrod Taylor in the pocket. We saw Ryan Fitzpatrick last week, who is having a heck of a game today, but we saw him last week escape the pocket a lot, and that's something the Saints were focused on this week during practice, because Tyrod Taylor led the Browns last week with 77 yards for rushing, and they were able to keep Tyrod Taylor in the pocket tonight. The Saints had 3 sacks tonight on Tyrod Taylor, but on the other side of the ball, Drew Brees was also sacked 3 times. We'll go over to senior writer John DeShazier here in a little bit. Antonio Callaway was big for the Browns with 47 yards. He had the 47-yard touchdown, which almost closed the game for the Browns. Luckily, the Saints were able to escape with a drive down the field in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter, and then a field goal from Will Lutz. We will go over now to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome with our senior writer, John DeShazier.
Caroline, you heard Coach Payton. You know, he was not very happy with this one, and I don't know a whole lot of people who could be ecstatic with it. I don't think people will be dancing in this. Well, I take that back. This is New Orleans, so yeah, people will be dancing in the streets just because. But a game like this is the type game that will, even in victory, keep coaches awake at night because of the way it was achieved. I mean, the Saints were pretty sloppy in this game, and they really need just a bushel of missed kicks by the Browns in order to win this game. I mean, Drew Brees missed a couple of touchdown throws wide open to Benjamin Watson and Ted Ginn Jr. Those are things that can happen. They lose a couple of fumbles. Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn Jr. lose a couple of fumbles. Those things can happen. They have a penalty on the touchdown run by Alvin Kamara. That kind of thing cannot happen. And then defensively, they just, you know, kind of gave up a couple of plays, gave up a couple of defensive pass interference that lead to Cleveland's touchdown drive. So, again, there are some areas in there that really have to be addressed as the week progresses, and certainly before they go and play the Falcons in Atlanta on next Sunday. And yeah, but I will say this, encouraging defensively after last week, after being really shredded by Tampa Bay, they came out, played pretty well defensively for the better part of the game. Now, Cleveland's offense obviously won't be mistaken with Tampa Bay's, but still, you got to be able to do the job, and they did the job. They got off the field a decent amount of times on third down. They produced the first turnover of the season, Marcus Williams with a huge pick that led to the touchdown. And that really kind of helped them get in this game. And also, you saw some nice coverages. You saw a couple of sacks, the first sacks of the season. So those are things to be encouraged with. Defensively, I guess you could say there might have been a regression, because when you're talking about, you know, scoring 40 points in the season opener and dropping down to 21 in this game, well, obviously, you know, there are some areas that need to be addressed. And we just talked about, you know, Drew Brees missing a couple of touchdown throws. Those are the things that will bother him, I'm sure, as well as this offense, because, you know, they're more efficient than that. And when you get your opportunities in a game like this where it kind of slows down and becomes a slugfest, you need to be able to take advantage of those opportunities when you get those opportunities. And they didn't do that as much today. But all that said, it's the Saints win, and that's the main thing. They needed to get this win. They needed to get to 1-1. You didn't want to go on the road to the Falcons and then the road the next week to New York, trying to dig out of an 0-2 hole. So to level it off at 1-1 could have been better. You wish for 2-0, but 1-1, the Saints will have to take it right now because that's reality, and they, you know, have some things that they have to clean up. But you'd much rather clean those things up in victory than you do in defeat, as they had to do last week. So, you know, again, areas to address. Hopefully this week of preparation will address some of those areas and clean up some of those things that Coach Payton was talking about, and the Saints can put out a better product next week in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And again, hopefully they'll clean it up a little bit. He was not very happy. You couldn't be really happy with this one. The only thing that you can be happy about really is the result. That's the main thing. Bottom line is always score more than the other team, and they were able to do that. So hopefully they'll continue to progress and continue to get better, and continue to clean up some of the areas that need to be cleaned up before they go to Atlanta, Caroline.
Thanks, JD. JD was in the press room at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Like you said, Drew Brees is going to be bothered by those missed passes tonight. We saw that when Austin Carr got a pass interference in the end zone, and he tried to convert on the Saints tried to convert on the 2nd-yard line, and Drew Brees passed it just over Benjamin Watson's head. It almost looked like a lob pass. We saw Saints head coach Sean Payton get upset with Benjamin Watson after that throw. It's unknown if Benjamin Watson just didn't run the route right. And then we came back on the next play, and Alvin Kamara ran the ball in for a touchdown, but the Saints were called for a holding penalty. We'll watch the highlights for the Saints, which many of them came in the 4th quarter, luckily for the Saints, but we'll go to them now before we go back to Drew Brees in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
You saw that 7 pass plays, 5 rushes. That's balance. That's the one thing he didn't want to allow Cleveland to become. They've got to be able to shut down that run, force them into a pass game.
And Hill is bringing it out. The backup quarterback can fly, and he does out to the 40-yard line.
How good is he?
On 1st down. Kamara's loose. Fighting. The field spread for Brees. He's going to Thomas, and he's got it. It's going to be 1st and goal. Michael Thomas, touchdown Saints. Taylor to throw. Middle of the field. It's picked off. Intercepted by Marcus Williams. Williams inside the 20. Brees for the end zone, and Thomas. He holds it in. It's going to be a Saints touchdown.
At halftime in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, fans were able to celebrate running back Pierre Thomas and wide receiver Lance Moore, who were inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame on Friday night. They gave their speeches and thanked many of those who were able to help them along the way. Both undrafted free agents. Pierre Thomas, coming out of Illinois, he ranks 4th in Saints history in rushing yards, and obviously had a big play in the Super Bowl. Both of them had big plays in the Super Bowl with Lance Moore with his big two-point conversion. He mentioned that people come up to him and call him two-point conversion to this day, and fans were able to recognize the two in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome today. How could I forget to mention Michael Hebert, longtime Saints photographer, who received the Fleur de Lis Award on Friday night, along with Lance Moore and Pierre Thomas, who you saw there, were greeted by Gail Benson, owner of the New Orleans Saints. Again, if you're just tuning in with us, the Saints won tonight 21-18 to go 1-1 for the season. Michael Thomas broke an NFL record by having 27 receptions over 2 games. You just can't guard Mike. Great play by the New Orleans Saints. Again, they were able to keep Tyrod Taylor in the pocket, which they weren't able to do with Ryan Fitzpatrick last week. But again, it wasn't a fluke. We're seeing Ryan Fitzpatrick have a great game against the Falcons today, which the Bucs won today over the Eagles, excuse me. The Falcons defeated the Panthers 31-24. We saw a fight earlier in that game, and good news for the New Orleans Saints. Bad news for the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons won. We will see the Falcons next Sunday in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Saints will travel to Atlanta to to play the Atlanta Falcons, who lead the series 51-46. However, the Saints have a 16-8 records against the Falcons since 2006. Again, the Saints not too happy with their performance tonight. Michael Thomas had 2 turnovers. The Saints overall had 4 penalties for 53 yards. Taysom Hill was a big spark off the bench. Tommy Lee Lewis did go out for the Saints with an apparent knee injury. We will determine his status tomorrow morning when the Saints are able to come to the facility. Maybe we can hear from Sean Payton tomorrow in a morning conference call. But again, Sean Payton had said several times that he was not pleased with the Saints' play tonight. Again, through the first and third quarter, it was not the same Saints team that we're used to seeing throughout 2017. Finally, they showed up in the fourth quarter. Again, the defense playing great and the offense being able to produce with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, who, again, though he is a dual threat running back, played more receiver tonight than he did running back. He was able to have 3 times more yards than the entire Saints offense. The Saints are surely missing Mark Ingram, who is serving his second game of 4-game suspension. The Saints only had 62 yards rushing tonight. Not something that the Saints are used to again, but again, Michael Thomas was able to convert for the Saints. Saints defense being able to convert a lot for the Saints. They did much better on third down. And speaking of Saints offense, we'll go back to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome with quarterback Drew Brees.
All right, go ahead.
Coach said you guys won, but
Yeah.
he isn't all that overjoyed over it.
No. Neither am I. It was not a very good performance by us. A ton of missed opportunities. It was not, the first half. I mean, I can point to at least 4, 5, 6 different things where, whether we miss a pass, I miss an open guy for a touchdown, or we miss an assignment that otherwise would have continued to drive or gotten us points. The turnovers, I mean, it was really sloppy football. It was not sharp. Came out in the second half. Don't convert on 2 3rd and 1s on our first 2 drives of the third quarter. And then, find a way in the fourth quarter, which was, listen, a great team effort. It says a lot about our team to, come together, know that, hey, we're going to make the plays, but, man, sense of urgency. And, we drive down, get a touchdown, defense comes up with a interception, we get another touchdown, and then, go down and kick the field goal to win it. But, man, really shouldn't have come down to that. I think if we're talking about playing our best football, today was not that. There's a lot of things that we need to improve upon.
I think at the end of the game, you guys have done that so many times that there was a little bit of belief kicked in that maybe helped.
Sure. Listen, and these are games that define your identity a little bit. These are the games that, man, you didn't have your best stuff, but you found a way. These are the ones where I believe we're going to have plenty of better days, where, man, we're hitting on all cylinders, or, we're making plays. But to know that you can shake off whatever it was that was going on for the first 3 quarters and, have that belief system in place amongst the team, offense, defense, special teams, that, hey, somebody's going to make a play. I don't know who it is, but somebody's going to make a play. Put yourself in the right position. It's going to happen, and believe that we're going to find a way to come back and win this game. Well, listen, first of all, it's a lot of different pieces to that team this year than last year. I'm not sure what happened last year, but I just know when I turn on the film, I see a team that's going to win games, from them, I'm saying. I think they've got some talent on offense. I know they got some talent on defense. And listen, man, they played us tough. We had some opportunities that we didn't take advantage of. I feel like we left a lot of points out there, more so than I can remember from us as an offense. So we're walking away from this happy that we got the win, happy that we got the first win of the season, kind of break the seal, happy that we came together as a team to get it done at the end, but a huge sense of urgency for our improvement now as we move on to next week.
What's missing when you look at the first 2 weeks? You guys haven't been sharp for whatever reason. What do you think's missing?
Well, I would just say it's just been a little inconsistent. So we need to be more consistent.
Is there a difference, Drew, in kind of winning in a different way or a multitude of ways, but also playing consistently offensively? Last week, 40 points this week with the low scoring. How do you see that? Is it different?
Well, again, I feel like we left 2 touchdowns out there in the first half. So if you tack that on, that kind of puts us in our range. So again, we have lofty expectations for, and I'll just speak for us offensively. Ever since I've been here, man, every time we touch the ball, we expect to score. Whoever number is called, we feel confident that we've got guys that can make plays, and whoever defense decides to take away, we got guys. We'll find the matchups. We'll exploit the weakness. And again, I felt like the opportunities were there today, and we didn't capitalize on it early.
Speaking of making plays, Will has been in that situation before where he's got to get a field goal for you guys. How much confidence do you have in him?
Yeah.
He missed one earlier, for him to bounce back and get a job.
Yeah, listen, it says a lot about his character and his preparation, and just I think the confidence we have in that group. But again, that's just everybody doing their part. Hey, defense makes a play. Gets the turnover when we need it, man. We talked about that. Hey, let's get one. Let's get one. They get one. They put us in position to, score the go-ahead touchdown. And then, hey, listen, their offense makes an unbelievable play with that pass play. And then, field goal block unit gets them to miss, so now we're tied. Offense, we need a play. We go down. We put ourselves in field goal position. Field goal team, get out there, man. Get the job done. So, listen, it was a lot of, everybody having a role in the final outcome of that game.
Drew, the second touchdown, Michael, did they give you a certain look where you just knew immediately
No, I mean they were cheating over to him, but just still felt like we had a place where I could throw it where he could get it and they can't.
I was like that. Give you guys confidence going into the rest of the season. You guys can make the necessary.
Well, I would say, I mean, of course, it's these are the wins that help build that confidence and that identity, and man, there's no matter as poorly as we played in the first half of that game, and all the missed opportunities, man, we still found a way. As a team, we found a way. Everyone making plays when they needed to get that win. But we also understand that is not good enough. That is not our standard. The way we played in the first 3 quarters, that is not our standard. Offensively, I think our defense played really well, but offensively, that was not our standard. So we've got to make sure we take advantage of the opportunities when we get them. What's that? Oh, Marcus? No, I mean, I expect him to get a lot of them. He's a ball hawk back there, I guess.
That was Saints quarterback Drew Brees in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, again saying that it wasn't the Saints' best football today. They'll come back on Monday and recap today's game in the film room, and then they will take Tuesday off and work towards Sunday's game against the Atlanta Falcons in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Tonight's top performance, Drew Brees had 243 yards on 28 completions. Alvin Kamara had 46 yards on 13 attempts, and leading receiver was Michael Thomas, 89 yards on 12 receptions. He did have 2 touchdowns as well tonight, and a big 2-point conversion from Alvin Kamara. He basically just walked into the end zone, which is what we like to see from Alvin Kamara. On defense, A.J. Klein had 9 total tackles tonight. Again, I've mentioned that the Saints did a great job of keeping Tyrod Taylor in the pocket. A.J. Klein had a huge performance against Browns running back Carlos Hyde, who was not able to get many yards, especially in the first half. He was met by A.J. Klein twice early in the first half. and that was good to see from the Saints linebacker crew. Another top performer for the defense was Demario Davis. He was an asset to the Saints this week after coming to the Saints from the Jets last year, a big pickup from the New Orleans Saints. Before we go over to John DeShazier, senior writer in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, let's recap the scores from the NFC South. The Buccaneers defeated the Eagles tonight, as well as the Falcons over the Panthers, which is what we want to see. And now we will go over to John DeShazier in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
And there you have it, Caroline. Saints win. Nobody's really happy about it. And if anybody told you they were really happy about it, they probably would not be being genuine. There were a lot of mistakes made in this game. But, again, bottom line, they win the game. They have something to look forward to going in, because it's a lot better being 1-1 than it is being 0-2. So head off to Atlanta, hopefully get a division win against a really tough opponent on the road in week 3. So that's what they're looking forward to now. This is one that you got to flush out of your system just as quickly as they flushed the last one out of their system, the season opening loss to Tampa Bay. Get rid of this one, get on to Atlanta, hopefully correct the mistakes that were made, be a little bit more ready for the Falcons, because it's going to be a difficult place to play, a difficult team to play against, a really good offense. We've seen it be a capable defense, and so the Saints are going to have their hands full in Atlanta, but we're looking forward to it. I mean, 1-1 is, again, a lot better than 0-2, and so hopefully the Saints can get on a little streak here, get on a roll, and make the improvements that they need to make during this week, and take those improvements with them to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. So, Caroline, back to you, and have a great week.
Absolutely, JD. It's good to have a W in our win column. Again, to recap, the Saints defeat the Cleveland Browns 21-18 to go 1-1 for the 2018 season so far. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Saints post-game show presented by Verizon. We'll see you next Sunday.